Hi, this is MarkLittle. Today we're going to talk about leaning in to the things that scare you most. As a financial advisor, if you're responsible for both client acquisition and serving the clients you acquire, if you're responsible for both of those, then it really doesn't matter what environment you're in. You're an entrepreneur. So welcome to the business world. Even if you work for a big wirehouse, or if you're a partner in an accounting firm, or if you're an estate planning lawyer or an independent financial advisor. So my point is, whether you're working for yourself or not, you're working for yourself. You're the president of your little financial services business. I'm just going to talk specifically about what is the biggest obstacle preventing progress and preventing growth in a business. This talks all about being an entrepreneur and how to create a breakthrough experience. So if there are things in your business that in your mind you are aware of, which are problems or obstacles, like whatever you're currently focused on that you think is standing between you and the next level, I can tell you this just from my personal experience. I've been a financial advisor since April 28th of 1981. So over 40 years. And I can tell you that as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I've had both environments. I worked for a Wall Street based firm, so I was in the corporate world for a period. And then most of my career, I've been an independent financial advisor, but on the investment side, which means I always had some compliance person to report to, even though I own my own business. But the point is, what's the obstacle that keeps you from moving to the next level? I'm going to propose it's always the hard stuff. It's always the annoying, difficult task or problems. I would even go so far as to say it's the things you typically avoid. We tend to move ourselves into somewhat of a comfort zone, and then anything that comes to disrupt that is a problem. So that's what I'm talking about. These problems that are preventing you from moving forward are usually hard stuff that are outside of your comfort zone that make you uncomfortable. It's just the thing that scares you most, almost always. So I'm going to advise and I'm going to walk you through some thoughts, hopefully some progress around pushing through the hard stuff so that you can have a breakthrough experience. We talk in these videos, I talk frequently about when I meet a financial advisor, they're in one of two modes. First thing I'll ask any advisor is what's preventing you from moving faster? They'll be very articulate about that. Here's the problem currently. I'll say, okay, which mode are you in? Are you in information mode, which means you are looking around, in learning mode, you're trying to see what's out there that might be able to solve your problem. You're doing research. Maybe you're assessing different programs to see if maybe they're a good fit for helping you push through this problem. But one way or the other, that's information mode. And the only other mode is action mode. So what's action mode? Action mode is the opposite of information mode. Information mode is fine, by the way. I'm that way personally. I like to do research. I like to learn new things. I'm happy to go out there and assess what's out there. But the point I'm making is the only thing that actually works is picking something and taking action. So at the end of the information mode, then you're left with the only other mode that exists, which is action mode, which is the only thing that actually matters. So action mode is defined as somebody that tells me, Mark, I'm in action mode, which means I'm sick of get ready to take action. I've done my homework. I know what I want to do. I need a breakthrough. I need change now. I don't need change a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. No, I need change quicker than that. I've put the learning mode instinct to the sideline, and I am focused on moving fast, taking action. Okay, so that's the first principle behind this leaning into the hard stuff, or actually seeking out the uncomfortable obstacle that's standing between you and the getting to the next level in your business. Because quite candidly, it's probably the fact that you're in information mode. So if that's what's debilitating you, you're in this kind of constant cycle. I've talked to a financial advisor recently who said, oh, I'm definitely in information mode. I'm looking for everything out there that might solve this problem. And I said, how long you been in information mode? He said, 2 years. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So if the fact that you are not in action mode is part of the problem, then you've got to make a decision. And thankfully, it's not a skill issue. It's a mindset issue. Literally, from one day to the next, you can move from learning or information mode into action mode. You can just decide, say, I'm done with that. Whatever research I've done, it's going to have to be enough because I need a breakthrough. I need transformation in my business. Therefore, I'm moving into action mode. I'm going to start implementing something like now, like actually not tomorrow, not the next day. That's another trap. It's like putting off the action. The message I'm trying to convey is move into action mode sooner than you're comfortable. Put a time limit for all future obstacles. Put a time limit on what we all know is just an avoidance mechanism, which is information mode. It's okay if you want to tell yourself, all right, I'm going to give myself a week, maybe 2 weeks. I'm going to do the research that I need. I'm going to look at all the different programs, or I'm going to do whatever I need to do to figure out which system I'm going to follow or what advice I'm going to take, or to create a plan step by step to take action to resolve this problem. But I'll give myself a short period of time. Let's call it a week. And that means next Monday, when I get to my desk, I'm in action mode. Screw the research. I'm ready to start moving and moving fast. And if next Monday you don't do that, you're at a fork in the road. You've got to decide, which is it? Am I just in perpetual information mode, or is it a mindset where I gave myself a deadline of today, Monday, when I get to my desk? If for some reason I start coming up with excuses to not take action, I'm dispensing with that. I'm either going to admit that I'm never going to get out of that information mode and just live with it, lower my goals, forget moving to the next level, whatever the impact. It boils down to, what's the impact of not taking action? Are you comfortable not achieving the goal? Are you comfortable not moving to the next step, or not moving to the next phase of your business in any time that's associated with your goals or time frame that you've set for yourself? Just admit that you can't do it. You're too either fearful or scared or annoyed or frustrated to get out of information mode. Because even if you get to that Monday and you're not ready to take action, you get to the fork in the road and say, I'm tired of information mode. I'm ready to do something. So start doing something. And start on Monday. Like, always make it right now. The decision and what makes it a mindset issue is from one moment in time, you move from not taking action to taking action. So I'm going to assume, for the purpose of this video, that to lean into the hard stuff, you've made a decision to move out of information mode, and you are now in action mode. So even then, there are some challenges. So I want to walk through them. There's four challenges that prevent people who are in action mode from actually achieving or overcoming the hard stuff, preventing people from addressing and leaning into the hard stuff. Okay. The things that scare you. So what are those? Number one is your success challenges other people. You need to be aware of this. You need to prepare for this. You need to think how you're going to handle this. Now, it comes in different forms. It comes from within our industry. I've noticed other advisors they feel personally challenged when they hear someone lay out a plan that sounds like it could work to get an advisor to the next level, which they're listening to all this and it quite possibly exceeds where they are currently. And for some advisors, you don't like to think of it this way, but even if they're friends, they can feel challenged by this. And therefore, they'll say, oh, that'll never work. Or you've got to deal with the fact that some people just don't want you to succeed. Maybe even consciously in their own mind, they would never admit they don't want you to succeed. But that's what it is. The reason I know this is because I am active on LinkedIn. And whenever we see an advisor make a success story, I always like to make a post on that. I like to describe advisors that I see, like you. If you have a success story, share it with me. I like to write articles on advisors that are making forward progress. They're in action mode and they're seeing success moving forward. So I will write up a success story, or in some cases, I'll describe my own success story. I went from an introvert who was about to get fired at my company to developing a client acquisition system, which drove me to #1 top producer in my company. So maybe I'm describing my own success story at times, but I'm also describing other advisors and their success stories. So how does that relate to this? You should see the comments. You should see the comments. People say, oh, that'll never work. Or there must be some part of this story that you're not telling. Oh, if they had that kind of success, they must have a lot of millionaires in their families who are investing with them, or whatever it is. It's just the most ludicrous, silly. And then I click on the LinkedIn profile. The one cool thing about LinkedIn is you can go look at who it is that's actually saying these things. And it's financial advisors quite often. So you have all these financial advisors actually seeing a success story. I'm not talking about a theory. I'm talking about something that someone has accomplished that I've personally witnessed. There will be comments in there from fellow financial advisors saying, oh, this will never work for other people, or this is a bunch of BS, or some kind of naysaying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is awful. I wonder if they would admit out loud that they just don't like to see other people succeed. That at the heart of it, it's just, they may not like to say it out loud, but honestly, they don't want to see people surpassing them. It's simple human nature. So there are people that feel challenged by you, but there are also good meaning people that love you. Let's say family, friends, acquaintances, who I would say it's one of two things. They either don't get it, because what you're describing often can lead to a 7 or 8 figure annual revenue business. And to someone not familiar with our industry, someone that knows and loves and cares about you, but they really have no experience in our industry, or they just don't have experience running a business. But they might look at this and be nodding politely, but thinking in their head, this will never work. They either don't get it or they're fearful. They just think it's going to blow up. I can't sit here and let this person that I care about lay all this on me without me, as a good friend, saying, but you realize this will never work. So point #1 is your success is going to challenge people. Some are well-meaning people. Some are going to be people that might be jealous of if you succeed, but you need to prepare for this and push through it. You need to surround yourself with like-minded kindred spirits, other advisors that have goals that are bigger than yours, people that have actually accomplished what you're trying to achieve and can give you some advice, or seek out successful entrepreneurs. If you don't know anybody in our industry and you don't want to contact me, find somebody in your life that has accomplished something significant in business, someone that has pushed through the impossible and knows for a fact you can do this. So I used to tell my daughter when she was little, and she hated it, that you are who you hang around. I used to explain, maybe she'd bring a friend home. I'm thinking, I don't think that kid's a good influence on my daughter. But of course I'm thinking this. And as a parent, you have to navigate a tricky road, how to convey this. So what I'd end up saying is you become the people you hang around with most. I said, if you could just hang around with 5 people who have lots of virtues and don't focus their entire life on vices, not virtues. If your goal is to have 5 close friends that are virtuous, when they make a decision, they usually make the right decision. Don't you think you'd be more successful than if you surround yourself with people that their biggest claim to fame is all their vices and somehow they're in your circle of friends? So I know she hated it. You know how? Well, two ways. The eye roll, I can always tell I get the eye roll, but I felt I didn't like that same conversation when I was her age. So I remember when I was a teenager and my parents saying the precise same thing. It's probably where I got this from. But the point is, you are who you hang around with most of the time. That's the bottom line. So you need to, I'm not telling you to cut yourself off from naysayers and friends who just don't get it or they don't understand what you're trying to achieve. The fact that they cannot be support for you on this is pretty much all you need to know. You need to surround yourself with, I'm calling them kindred spirits. And there are people like me. There are like Bill Backrack and Backrack. There are people in the industry, programs that are run by people who've been there and done what you're trying to achieve. I'm saying you need to make a list of at least 5 of those people. And those are the people you seek out for encouragement. There are always these times, we'll talk about this in a minute, there's always these times in life that you know the right thing to do, but you just don't do it. So you're in action mode, but what if next Monday you had a good week, you were in action mode, you took action, and next Monday you think, I'm just not in the mood this week. Okay, that's unacceptable. So it was actually one of my coaches that told me to read a great book on this topic called The War of Art. Not the art of war, the other way around, the war of art. It talks about the resistance. And that's point number 2. Because just in general, all of us, including me, including you, but yes, the people in your life are either not going to get it or they may not believe it's going to work because they've not been there. The reason that you attract at least 5 people that can encourage you, who've been there, done that, and speak with some experience is reason number 2, which is it's human nature for people to resist improvements and change of any type. So it's just human nature to push back on any kind of change. It's uncomfortable. It gets us out of our little routine where we're comfortable. We know what we're doing. The idea of taking action mode and leaning into the hard stuff means that there will be a struggle internally to take action. I'm saying number 2 is just the human nature not to resist change. And what's actually showing up is it shows up as I'm just not in the mood. A very great business speaker named Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, Jim Rohn, I think one of the greatest business philosophers of my lifetime. He's no longer with us, but he had a great quote on this issue. So the question on the table that Jim Rohn talks about is, why is it that when we know the right thing to do, we don't do it? Why is that? I'm saying it's human nature, but he asks this question, and he has the best answer I've ever heard to that question. He said, because it's easier not to. Let it sink in. It's just, if you have a good week, you're in action mode, you get things done, you show up at your desk the next Monday morning and you just don't feel like it, call it out for what it is. It's resistance to change. Even if it's easier not to. So this week, you're going to have an easier week. You need to have a plan for when what the war of art calls the resistance, which is their word for procrastination or whatever you want to call this. But it's the human nature that pushes back on you to just not want to take any action today. It's a trap. They try to, in your mind, it holds itself out there as, just today, I'm not going to take action today. I'll pick it up tomorrow. And then one day turns into 2, 2 turns into 5. Now you're 5 weeks in with no action. It's a trap. Don't allow the resistance. Don't allow procrastination or this idea of not taking action. Don't allow it to live. When you're in action mode, don't allow it to live not for 1 minute. Your instinct should be, when you feel just not in the mood today to work on this project, you should have the reverse. You should train yourself to have the reverse reaction. I'm going to work harder today than I normally do. In other words, screw you. I am taking action and I'm not going to let whatever temptations in my brain steer me off course. This is where having a handful of successful people who've been there and done that can encourage you. I recommend that when the resistance takes over and you start procrastinating, immediately you pick up the phone and you call someone that can encourage you out of it and talk you into taking action. Or there are a handful, not many, there are a handful of programs like ours, which are actually created by top producers and were actually implemented by them. So if you can join a program where you actually have access to the individual who created and implemented what they're teaching, so that you can have access to them at those periods when you need them most. That's when you just don't feel like doing it today. Then that's your plan. You use your arsenal of a handful of successful people or the programs that you're in that are designed by people who've been through this. You contact them, have a plan in place. I'm not going to let 30 seconds go by with this emotion not to take action. I'm going to get on the phone. I'm going to take action calling my group. Number 3, it's so serious, this resistance, this procrastination, that unbeknownst to you, unbeknownst to me, we all create what I'm going to call an echo chamber around our life, which means we have structured our life often in a way where we hear what we want to hear and we don't hear what we don't want to hear. And it can show up in a variety of ways, but it's usually that you've surrounded yourself with people who just think you are the awesomest thing that walked the earth ever. And nobody ever challenges your ideas. Yes, they will encourage you, but they're not really there for you to challenge bad ideas. So let's say you have you're in action mode. So you put together an action plan, a step-by-step plan to achieve this obstacle, whatever it is that's standing between you and getting to the next level. And so the question is, do you have any people in your circle who, if in the plan, like they're not trying to derail you from the plan, but if in your plan you put in a step or an idea or a concept, which in their opinion might derail this whole thing, or it's just a bad idea, do you have anyone with the courage to confront you on this? I'm saying, think about that and purposefully don't do that. Know that you're doing it in the moment. If you're trying to break through on some big issue to transform your business, don't call the people up that always just encourage and support and never really challenge any of your thoughts or ideas. No, you need both. You need the encouragement, yes. But if the people that are encouraging you don't have the skill or the experience to help you look at your plan and spot the bad ideas, you can join a program that will help you create your plan. And hopefully, if you're in the right program, as you go through your plan to achieve success, if there's any bad ideas or things that might derail the whole thing, hopefully you're in a program that would tell you that. But whether it's that or something else, resist creating an echo chamber, or acknowledge that we all create an echo chamber in that we surround ourselves with yes people to some extent, and that we need to actively go out and seek people who are capable of noticing when you've got something in your plan that just frankly it's not a good idea. Then fourth and final, this whole leaning into the hard stuff. It's the reaction to the first 3 things. So just recognizing that your success is challenging other people, and that you will resist change, and that you to some extent have created some sort of an echo chamber which may fail to challenge you properly and do course corrections when they're called for. Those 3 fixes, let's say you fix those 3 things, and your reaction to that is somewhere between fight, you hear fight or flight, fight mode, to anger. It could even rise to the level of anger. So don't be surprised, don't be disappointed in yourself if, as you're solving these problems that we just went through, that if you're being honest, your candid emotion is now those are fighting words. All of a sudden, you've become that advisor on LinkedIn who's commenting about success story in a negative way. It's just you're a naysayer to yourself. Like, just be aware that it's normal for your reaction to a really sensible plan to overcome a substantial obstacle, that your reaction may surprise you. You may get into fighting mode and think, I'm gonna look for rationales not to do this, or this will never work. You're just trying to get angry and talk yourself into the fact that, what am I thinking? I'm nuts. Yeah, we've got this step-by-step plan. It looks reasonable. I've got encouragement, people around me. I've surrounded myself with a few successful people that have blessed the plan and challenged a few parts of it. So we did course corrections. So now I've got a plan, and there literally is nothing standing between me and achieving the goal other than doing the work. I'm just saying, be aware that if your reaction is to go into fight mode, like you'll fight rather than take action, all the way up to maybe you're even angry about the whole thing, and you're blaming me, you're blaming other people for this whole thing, just stop it. Be aware that this is a normal reaction and talk yourself out of it. You're going to have to go back to that initial group that I talked to you about, surrounding yourself with people who've been there and done that. You need to have a plan for if you ever go into fight mode or seriously question whether or not you want to take action or not, because that's just a violent form of the resistance. The reason it's stepping up is because success is within your grasp. It's showing up in your mind as, oh, this will never happen. It'll never come true. What am I thinking? I'm crazy. It comes up in various forms, but it moves from just a passive resistance, as in it's easier not to do this, to now it's real. You've got a plan that looks like it could work. And now there's literally no reason not to get on the phone and call people or whatever it is, whatever scares you. But when you're at a point where the only thing left to do is the thing that scares you, it's now you have a plan. So the only thing left to do is the thing that makes you uncomfortable. Be aware of that, and you're back to square one. What's the impact if you don't? I always like to approach my own anger. If I get angry at myself and I recognize I've risen my level of resistance to a violent level, and I'm really fighting why. And I start the logic path by thinking, what happens if this doesn't exist? So let's say your goal is client acquisition, and you want to acquire new revenue of $10,000, or you need to, or else the business is in trouble. You need it 60 days from today. I'm just picking a hypothetical goal. So you put a plan together. Often it's doing things that you resist, like on things that make you uncomfortable, things that are hard, things that scare you. It's okay as long as you're drafting the plan, because it's not you're actually doing it. It's you're getting ready to do it. You're writing the plan. Okay. But at some point, the plan is done. It's at least done enough to start taking the first few steps. So you need to be aware that the only thing that will work is action. If you take action, I think success is almost inevitable. Because why? Because of the other word that's required for an entrepreneur, which is perseverance. So it's because you will literally never give up until you achieve it. So yes, I'll do the things that make me uncomfortable. I'll do the things that scare me the most, but only for a period of time to accomplish the objective. And when I've got revenue or I've got people on my team that can do this, count me out. I don't want to do the things that I don't like doing at some point in the future. So you see some light at the end of the tunnel, but the point is, you've also thought about what's the impact if you don't achieve it. Let's say the hypothetical is you need to generate revenue in the next 60 days. Or what? Nothing? Like nothing happens? I remember when I was starting out as a financial advisor, my wife was a waiter in a very high-end restaurant, but she was a waitress. We both were when I was working my way through college. So now here I am, financial advisor, supposed to be making lots of money. She was still waiting tables. I remember her looking me in the eye saying, if I don't make $200 in tips before Friday, they're turning off the electricity. I'm like, wow, there's motivation. So I remember scrambling and figuring out she shouldn't have to do this. I should be doing, let me go figure out what I can do to generate $200. But you get what I'm saying. What's the impact if you don't achieve the result? Because maybe the goal is not inspiring enough to you to do the things that make you uncomfortable and scare you the most. But I think I'll just leave it right there. Listen, if you're in action mode and you're ready to move, but you're not sure what to do, or you need somebody to run your plan by, I don't want to talk to people that are in information mode, because as much as I'm comfortable with people being in information mode, you can be in information mode without me. It's the definition of the term. You're out there doing research and looking into things. But if you're in action mode, if you think in your heart, I am ready to take action, I'm sick of getting ready to take action, I need to start moving forward, some of this stuff scares me, some of this stuff is uncomfortable, screw it. I'm doing it anyway because the goal is so important that I need to achieve it. If you've gotten to that mode, then schedule time with me. I'll meet with you at no charge. I just need you to walk me through your plan, what you're planning to do. I promise I will encourage you. And if there's anything in that plan that I genuinely think is a bad idea, you're not going to have to tell me to speak up. I'll speak up. But the whole point of the exercise is to address whatever it is that's preventing you from moving into action mode. So I'll be asking you questions like, which of these parts and pieces of this project are uncomfortable to you? Does any of this scare you? Have any of these things that are required, have you been avoiding them? And we'll talk through that. The goal of the call is to leave the call with a plan in place that you can implement, where you have confidence that it could and should succeed, but only if you take action, and that you've, on the call with me, we've addressed the things that make you uncomfortable, so that you're past all that and you can move into the only mode where you ever achieve things, which is, how do you set that up? You go to our website, themarkofmastery.com. That's themarkofmastery.com/talk. TALK. So themarkofmastery.com/talk. And you can schedule time with me right there. No big deal. So I just wish action mode upon you. And I just hope you listen to this, and any of you that were just dabbling in information mode and you feel maybe a little too long, then that you watch this video and you make the decision however you decide to do it. But it's a mindset issue, and you make the decision, I'm going to start taking action. Not tomorrow, right now. All right. We'll see you in the next video.